Welcome to Sheffield Parent Care Forum's UK 2025 Autism and ADHD training. This is video 4 out of 4 looking at Sheffield's local authority support. This training includes 4 videos. The first video is an introduction where you will be introduced to who and what Sheffield Parent Forum is and how and why this autism and ADHD training came to be. The second video you will have watched will have covered parents' lived experiences, where you will have explored some parent care scenarios and heard their top tips for when working with families similar to their own. The third video, and the one before this video, was a health signs and factors video where you will have learned different signs of autism and ADHD, explored daily challenges, child mental health, and the current 2025 Sheffield UK NHS referral pathways for autism and ADHD. And this video, which is the fourth and final video of the training, which covers Sheffield local authority support, where we navigate the different support services available through the Sheffield UK City Council's local offer website. Again, you are currently watching video 4, local offer support. If you haven't seen the other videos, you can find them by going onto our playlist. You can also find this just by Googling Sheffield Parent Care Forum YouTube and then accessing our playlists. In this description box on the left, you can click a little button called More, and it will give you a brief description about our playlist and also links to our resource pack, which is also included as part of our digital package, and also a link to where you can book on to our live sessions here in Sheffield, UK for professionals only. You will find all of our videos here, and you can play all, which will run through them automatically, or you can click on them individually. So when we click on them individually, you will find it here. This little button here with the CC is subtitles, so you can turn them on or off, and they should appear in whatever language you have your computer set to. If we scroll down, you can then see our description box, which again, if you click on the More button, you'll get a quick description of each video, and you will also find a link to our website page. On our website page, you can find more information about the training itself. You will also find the individual links for booking online and in-person real-life sessions for professionals only here in Sheffield, UK. And then following this, as part of the digital package, you will find the link back to our playlist, which if you ever do need to know where it is, you can find it here. And you will also find the link to our resource pack. Our resource pack will open up as a Canva public view link, just like this, and you can go through it like a presentation on the right by clicking. But also during the contents, everything underlined is a jump link, so you can click on any jump link and it will take you exactly to the page of which you would like to read. Now, there are quite a few pages in this resource pack, so if you ever want to find a particular topic, you can click these 3 dots in the right lower hand corner, then click on Open in Grid View, to which you will then find all the subjects that you may be looking for. So if, for example, you were looking for some support around stimming, you'd be able to read a little bit of information here. And then if you wanted to access more support or pass it on to a family, all our QR codes can either be scanned by the family themselves off your computer or a printed copy, or when online, you can click directly on it as all our QR codes are links, and it will take you directly to that support for that family. Following on from previous videos, you will have met Ava, Benham and Max's families through our first contact scenarios. You will see their face icons pop up alongside services that we will mention throughout today's local authority activities and modules that are relevant to their support needs. We'll also be reflecting on the section as a whole at the end and what advice you could take away from what we've learnt that could also support our scenario families. Here are the local authority support modules we will look at in this video: the Sheffield local offer and the navigating activity, education resources, finance resources, family support resources, and leisure resources. The local offer is provided by every local authority across the country. Sheffield's local offer can be found simply by Googling Sheffield local offer, or you can also find it by going through the Sheffield directory and then clicking on the box on the top right. Once you're inside the local offer, you can find services provided by health, local authority and the private sector. These are then separated into key areas of need, such as transport and getting around, transitions into adulthood, money matters, staying safe, childcare, help with caring, education and learning, health and well-being, things to do, preparation for adulthood, and then all of these are then sometimes focused into a separate new section called ADHD, autism, sensory processing, and neurodiversity. This is often because a lot of parents don't know that all of these things on offer do apply to autism and ADHD. So we'll have that new extra group there so that they know that this is for them as well, and this is what can be tailored specifically to them as well. We're going to just have a quick look. So here you can see the local offer, and this is how it is laid out. The same sections that we've just covered, but they'll have a bit more of coloration to them. So a couple of other things to note when you are on the local offer is that they're in the top corner here, where my mouse is showing. You can find a little orange man in a little circle, and if you click on him, he will bring up Recite. Recite is an attached app that you can use to help with inclusion tools. For example, it can do text to speech, which can help if you're dyslexic, and it can also translate into other languages. However, please be aware that it can only translate to the best ability of Google Translate. Then you can also see near the top here is My Booklet, which is where you can create a booklet. So you create a booklet, you can put in a title, the recipient's name, if it's for a particular family, the booklet type, whether it has a lot on, whether you want it portrait or landscape, if you need normal size text or if you need a larger size text in order for the person to be able to read it easier. When you are making them, you go onto any single one of these pages. For example, you can go onto the early years funding and it will see add to booklet for this page. When you've got your booklet set, you'll be able to always find your booklets up in this section, and then you'll be able to print them off. The booklets do stay on there for a reasonable amount of time, but because there isn't a login service, it will eventually disappear. So this is usually quite helpful anyway, as a lot of the links and a lot of the page findings that you can see here, so these are kind of like the search functions, they may change as services change their names or change their links to support or their contact details. So having to redo a booklet every time for a family can be helpful in the fact that you're most likely going to be giving them the freshest links available. That was just a quick look at the booklet and inclusion tools. Now we're also just going to go back to the local offer page. We're going to show you kind of what you can find on a standard page. So if I go into education and learning, for example, and I click onto the Autism Social Communication Education Training Service, also known as ASSET, in here you will get the brief description of them. This often includes the eligibility, their offer, and also who can refer to them. This is also a little thing here that you will often find is like a little purple square with the light bulb in the corner. This is often telling you how to refer or how to contact the service. And then if you go down, they provide additional resources, and you can find often different things on here. At the very end of each page, you can have feedback on this page. This is where you can report whether you've noticed that something is out of date or that needs changing. Again, you can add it to your booklet with the heart or print the page off directly if that's easier for you. Some of the kind of like teams and services and offers that you will find on here are connected to other services or may lift several services. For example, the 0 to 5 SEND support service, which we will be covering in a minute, is home to 3 teams on one page. But because they all closely work together and often have overlapping referrals, all their information can be found in one place. Pause now to grab a notebook and pen for our local offer navigating activity. In this activity, we would like you to scan this QR code using your phone or access the local offer website on an additional web tab on your computer. Once on the web page, have a play exploring the local offer. While looking, we'd like you to think back on Ava, Beniam and Max and note down which services you think could support their families. Great, thanks for taking part. We'll reflect back on Ava, Beniam and Max towards the end of this video. Before that, let's have a closer look at some of the most important services and information you may have not found on the local offer that you should know. Module 1. Education Resources. A child has to be school-aged to receive support for their special educational needs. False. Nurseries, playgroups and childminders registered with Ofsted follow the Early Years Foundation Stage, also known as EYFS framework. The framework makes sure that there's support in place for children with SEND. Additionally, the Portage and Early Years Service can help as well. They are council-run SEND support services providing support across all areas of need. Portage supports children aged 0 to 3, and the Early Years Service support children from 0 to 5 until the end of their reception class with significant special educational needs or disabilities. Children should be level 3 or above on the Early Years Sheffield support grid to be eligible for either of these services. Portage offers practical support and advice to parents and guardians, whereas the Early Years Service provides advice, support and training to educational setting staff. The service also directs families to other resources and assists with further assessments, including educational healthcare plans. Referrals are made through the 0 to 5 SEND support service, usually by medical or health professionals. For children with social communication difficulties, there may be an early years inclusion teacher, inclusion assistant, and Portage home visitor assigned. Scan the QR code to find more information and contact details for both Portage and the Early Years Service. Additionally, on the same page on the local offer, you can also find Sheffield Early Years Language Centre UCAN, who offer a place to support children aged 0 to 5 with developmental language delay and provide training for parents and early years practitioners in meeting the needs of children with DLD. A child needs a diagnosis to receive support in school. False. Support in school should be tailored to the individual needs of the child rather than solely based on any diagnosis. The Sheffield Support Grid is a guide for school staff and supporting agencies to refer to help them understand children with additional needs and put in appropriate provision to meet those needs. The grid is broken down into 4 broad areas or need as detailed in the SEND Code of Practice, and some of these broad areas are broken into subsections. For example, communication and interaction is broken down into speech and language, social communication, and speech and fluency. Each section is broken into 5 levels to indicate severity of need. The document details what a provision offer should look like to meet need at each level. The Sheffield Support Grid indicates which agencies schools can refer to and names the paperwork that might be in place to support the Access Plan Do review cycle. In January 2025, the School Age Sheffield Support Grid was updated. The updated version has added in 1C section for children with speech and fluency difficulties and a section 4E for children with sensory processing difficulties. It has also collapsed Section 2A, General Learning Difficulties, and 2B, Specific Learning Difficulties, and now just have one section, Cognition and Learning. The grid still describes the differences between a child with general learning difficulties and those with a specific learning difficulty, but the provision offer in terms of its intensity and frequency is largely the same. The update also collapsed 3A, Emotional Regulation, and 3B, Mental Health, to make one Section 3, Social Emotional Mental Health, as separating these two were found to be inappropriate. In addition, the update has inputted a section to capture what provision should look like for children at Level 1 and 2, and named this Ordinarily Available provision. The Ordinary Available Toolkit details the support and resources that mainstream schools and settings are expected to provide for children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities. Ordinary available provision should be provided from within the institution's own resources, without the need for extra or specialised support. The 2025 updated Sheffield Support Grid also lists screening tools, assessment tools, recommended interventions, and useful website and resources schools can use. The Sheffield Support Grid comes in 3 versions. The School Age Grid, Primary and Secondary Age, has recently been updated in January 2025. As of March 2025, work is underway to update the Early Years Grid. Keep an eye out to make sure that the grid you have is up to date today by checking out these QR codes at Learn Sheffield or on the local offer. In Sheffield, recommended templates for settings to use to capture a child's strengths and needs and make appropriate plans for them include one-page profiles that are used to capture a child and young person's likes and dislikes, their strengths and needs, and to list the adjustments and approaches needed to ensure they are well supported. Support plans. Used when a child or young person needs to have a set of personal outcomes. A support plan details the outcomes to be worked on, the steps the child or young person will work through to achieve these outcomes, the approaches and adjustments and provision that is required. Support plans are sometimes called individual education plans, also known as IEPs. An extended support plan replaces the previously used My Plan. However, the intention behind the document remains the same. An extended support plan is used for children who need a fuller understanding about their strengths, needs, and their wishes and aspirations. Extended support plans are developed with the children and young people, their parents and carers, and include advice from any other professionals involved across education, health, and care. The extended support plan includes a space to capture views around what is going well and what the child or young person needs support with in regards to the 4 pillars of preparation for adulthood: education and work, independence, community and friendships, and health. This information then informs the outcomes to work on as detailed in the support plan. The Sheffield support grid indicates what type of paperwork a setting may use for the different level of need. For children with a mild to moderate needs, a one-page profile or a support plan is recommended. For children with moderate to more complex needs, it is recommended that an extended support plan is in place. When a child is placed on a SEND register, the SEND Code of Practice tells us the child or young person's plan should be reviewed at least 3 times a year to ensure they are effective and up to date. The paperwork is used as a graduated approach. For example, if a child has a support plan, they are likely to have a version of the one-page profile, and if they have an extended support plan, the support plan and the child and young person's voice is part of the document. Some children and young people have other plans made for them, such as an attendance plan or an individual behavioural plan. This is to address specific need and make plans around that. An Educational Healthcare Plan, also known as an EHCP, is a statutory document for children and young people aged 0 to 25 with significant special educational needs and disabilities. It details the educational, health, and social care support needed to help them achieve the best possible outcomes. The plans are for children and young people with SEND aged 0 to 25 whose complex needs cannot be met by regular school support. Eligibility is determined by the local authority. A request for an assessment can be made by the school or a supporting professional, the parents or carers, or the child and young person themselves. If it is the school who is making the request to assess, it is advised they use the extended support plan as a part of this request, as this document should give a full holistic view of the child or young person's strengths and needs. In the first 6 weeks, the local authority makes a decision about whether it is appropriate to assess the needs of the child based on the information they have received. If a decision is made to assess, the local authority then have 6 weeks to conduct an assessment and ensure they have copies of all relevant information, including reports from all professionals involved. Parents and carers provide valuable insight into the child or young person's strengths and needs. The views and aspirations of the child or young person are also considered. Educational professionals such as teachers, SENCOs, and educational psychologists contribute assessments and recommendations as well. Health and social care professionals, if involved, also provide input. The local authority coordinates the assessment and ensures the plan is legal and comprehensive. A decision is then made within 16 weeks from the initial request as to whether it is appropriate to issue an educational healthcare plan or not. If the decision is yes, the local authority used the information collected during the assessment period to write the plan. The draft is sent out for review, with the plan being completed within 20 weeks from this initial request. If a decision is not made to start an assessment or issue a plan, information is sent back to parents and carers detailing the reasons why and offering next steps for support. Information is also sent to let parents know what they can do if they disagree. Sometimes it is said that an extended support plan must be reviewed at least twice before submitting a request to assess. This is not part of the statutory process. However, when deciding about whether to assess or not, the local authority benefit from evidence of an assessed plan do review cycle, and the impact of this then helps inform their decisions. However, in some cases, a child or young person may have such significant needs that it would be inappropriate to wait. In other cases, just 2 cycles of an extended support plan may not be enough to get a clear picture of the child or young person's strengths and needs. The EHCP must be reviewed at least once a year to keep it up to date. Interim or emergency reviews can be requested if significant changes occur, and transition reviews are held at key points such as moving schools or preparing for adulthood. Check out more information on educational healthcare plans by scanning the QR code on screen. The Sheffield Local Authority team responsible for carrying out educational healthcare plans are the Special Educational Needs Department Statutory Assessment and Review Service, also known as SENSARS. SENSARS is a council-run service providing SENS support across all areas of need that also offer, as of 2025, coordinating school placements for children and young people with educational healthcare plans, monitoring and supporting annual reviews, providing evidence to educational providers and parents and carers about strategy assessments and educational healthcare processes, and are involved with the mediation and tribunal processes. This is where parents appeal a decision made on any aspect of an educational healthcare plan process. Check out the QR code to find the local offer page on SENSARS with more information and contact details. Similar sounding and often confused with SENSARS is the Sheffield Special Educational Needs Department Information and Advice Service, also known as SENDIAS. This is an impartial service offering advice and support to parents and guardians of children and young people with special educational needs. To find out the support SENDIAS can provide parents, please check out their page on the local offer by scanning the QR code as seen on screen. Parents and professionals can also access specialist support and advice from teams such as the Educational Psychology team. The Educational Psychology Service, also known as EPS, supports children and young people aged 0 to 25 with additional educational needs. They work with all schools in Sheffield, offering advice, assessments, and early intervention. EPS involves educational psychologists, also known as EPs, and assistant EPs, who provide consultation, training, and support for staff and parents. They also play a statutory role in the Educational Healthcare Plan needs assessments. Key services include training for emotional literacy support assistants, also known as ELSAs, support for emotionally based school avoidance, also referred to as EBSA, and help with understanding and managing challenging behaviours. To find out more, check out the Educational Psychology team's local offer page by scanning the QR code on screen. Another important team to know are the Autism and Social Communication team. The Autism and Social Communication team is a Sheffield City Council-run service supporting autistic children and young people or those with significant social communication barriers in mainstream education. They offer advice, assessment, and support for parents and schools, as well as training and coaching for education settings. Referrals are typically made by SENCOs, require parental consent, and are discussed with school staff. However, families can contact the team directly via the Sheffield Autism and Social Communication Team support line. To find their contact details, check out their local offer page by scanning the QR code on screen. You may also want to consider anxiety and emotionally based school non-attendance, also known as school avoidance. It is when children really struggle to attend school settings regularly. Children might find it hard to go to school due to things like feeling overwhelmed by sensory stimuli, multiple social interactions, or heightened anxiety. To address school avoidance effectively, professionals need to work closely with parents and other relevant parties to understand the reasons behind it and come up with strategies to support the child. Strategies can include implementing focused interests into schoolwork to motivate them, providing reasonable adjustments such as ear defenders or quiet lunch spaces to alleviate sensory overwhelm, or create a visual reward calendar system for days attending school. Support can also be found with the Sheffield City Council Inclusion and Attendance team. The team supports those who have a concern about a child who is persistently absent from school or may be at risk of exclusion and/or has identified additional needs, including SEND. The team offers support around transition points, for example, school readiness, primary to secondary school, and some more. Additionally, GPs can also refer to mental health support such as Door 43 or CAMS to provide medical evidence of a child's needs to avoid fines and prosecutions. To find out more on supporting children to attend school, please check out the Anxiety and Emotionally Based Non-Attendance or the Inclusion and Attendance Team's local offer pages by scanning the QR codes on screen. If a child has a diagnosis, they can attend a specialist provision or an integrated resource unit. False. To attend a specialist provision or integrated resource unit, a child needs an educational healthcare plan. The local authority then sends copies of the educational healthcare plan to chosen schools, which respond on their ability to meet the child's needs. If needed, parents can appeal the decision. Each specialist provision has its own criteria, including diagnosis and behaviour. School guidance for parents. Let's look at some handy pages from the local offer that you can pass on to parents who, for example, may have concerns about their child's current school placement. If parents have any concerns about how their child's provision needs are being met in their child's current school, they can try talking to the child's TA, teachers, school Senko, or SEND school governor. If parents are unsure on who these people are, they are often advertised on the school website or on poster boards in the school receptions. However, parents can also contact SENDIAS for advice and support in communicating with schools. Scan the QR code to access the key contact details and other relevant information. Different types of school placements. Remember that some families, especially at the start of their journey, won't understand the differences between mainstream and alternative school placements. Use this QR code to explore the different types of school placements with parents to help them stay informed. Or share it with parents, as it will take them to the local offer page that explains the differences between mainstream schools, integrated resources, and specialist schools. It also has relevant information page links on the left side of the screen, such as lists of current mainstream schools, integrated resource units, and specialist schools in Sheffield, UK. Choosing a school. When parents are choosing a new school for their child, it can feel very overwhelming. There's 3 handy steps professionals can suggest to parents when making this decision. 1. Do research on each school. Learn their mission, views, and provision capabilities. 2. Visit schools. Visit as many schools as you possibly can, calling ahead of time to make sure you can have a full tour of their facilities and learn a bit more about their day-to-day, ask tailored questions, and most parents will have a feeling towards a particular school by the end of their visits, so will feel more confident in their decisions. And finally, advise parents to reach out to peers who have made similar decisions or who have children in the school they are interested in. To find out more, use the QR code on screen to access the local offer's breakdown of these steps. Now let's take a closer look at the specialist school referral process. Children with educational healthcare plans can go to regular schools, colleges, specialised units in mainstream schools, or specialist schools. When completing Section I of an educational healthcare plan, parents can ask for a specific school or college for their child. However, it has to be approved a good fit for the child's needs. Parents need to state their preferences before school admission deadlines, and the final plan with the school name must be ready by set national deadlines. If parents don't agree with the chosen school, they can appeal Section I to the SEND Tribunal with Form SEND 35, within 2 months from the date of the decision letter or 1 month from the date of the mediation letter, whichever is later. We would advise from parent feedback to send it off within 30 days to be safe. However, it is also worth trying to resolve issues with mainstream provision through SENSARs before going ahead with a tribunal, as it can be a long process and there are limited specialist school places. Additionally, here's a quick rundown of some educational alternatives to traditional classroom learning for children who have been identified as needing an alternative provision to mainstream schools. Alternative provisions. Alternative provisions, also known as APs, are used to give children a break from mainstream classroom. Most schools have specific alternative provisions they rely on, and some schools have their own APs on school grounds. Home education. Home education is usually chosen by the child and their parents. It can look different for each family and often allows for child-led learning. Sheffield City Council oversees all home educating families in the area. However, please be aware that home educating a child is a massive responsibility and it should be considered a last option, especially for parents and carers with limited capacity. Education other than at school, EOTAS. Education other than at school, also known as EOTAS packages, are rare in Sheffield, with under 100 children having one in Sheffield as of 2025. It's used when no school setting is suitable for the child. Similar to homeschooling, this is a lot of responsibility and should be considered a last resort option as it is also a lengthy process. Forest schools. Forest schools offer outdoor learning experiences. Some schools have their own forest schools on site, and some home education families use private forest schools. They can also be used as an alternative provision option. These options can be discussed and explored by each child's individual needs and circumstances. Remember, one of these alternative choices could be extremely successful for one family and extremely challenging for another. Make sure to support parents during education decision processes with complete transparency on the pros and cons, implementing a holistic approach. To find out more about alternative provisions, please pause to scan the QR codes on screen. Now let's look at Module 2, Finance Support. Parents have to pay more money for their child to access activities to ensure they get a higher level of supervision and more staffing. False. Parents should not be asked to pay more money towards their child's support. For example, children in Sheffield have the opportunity to participate in inclusive activities through the Special Needs Inclusion Play Care Service. Also known as SNPS, the Special Needs Inclusion Play Care Service is a council-run social care service catering to children and young people aged 5 to 18. It supports parents and carers who require respite from their caring responsibilities or face barriers to their children's inclusion in activities. Inclusion officers are involved in matching children to suitable activities, conducting early help assessments, and providing ongoing support for families. The service also assists clubs in becoming inclusive and matches families with appropriate short breaks. Additionally, support is offered to families receiving direct payments to meet care needs, including assistance in becoming employed. Both direct payments and short break services are reviewed annually to ensure they can continue to meet the child's and family's needs. Parent carers, schools, and other professionals working with the child can request a claim assessment, which can lead to a direct payment and/or short break activity. Use this QR code to access the SNP's local offer page where you can find their contact details and self-referral forms. When thinking of setting financial support for younger children, you should consider the Disability Access Fund, also known as DAF. This is money given to childcare providers to help support children aged 9 months to 4 years old with special educational needs and/or disabilities in their settings. Providers get one payment of £828 per year per eligible child as of 2025. Children are eligible if they access 3 and 4 year free early learning and receive disability living allowance. Early year providers are responsible for identifying eligible children, so please make sure you know if a child you support gets disability living allowance. Please scan the QR code on screen to check out further details and form for applying. Be aware that if you try to Google DAF, it comes up as saying it only exists in Wales. However, this is not true. You can apply for it in Sheffield UK as well. Additional finance support for families includes Disability Living Allowance, also known as DLA. It is funding available for children needing extra care or having difficulty walking due to a disability or health condition such as autism and ADHD. It's not diagnosis specific, so even without a formal diagnosis, it can be claimed if the child has significant additional needs and aligns with one of the DLA thresholds, which are lower, middle, and high rate needs. DLA needs to be claimed by the child's parent or caregiver. Parent carers may not realise they are eligible for DLA as they may not consider that constant supervision and guidance is an eligibility need. So as a professional, suggest it to families you think are eligible. It is applied for by printing out a DLA claim form or by calling the Disability Living Allowance helpline to get a printed form sent through the post. When sent by the helpline, however, it will be backdated to the date they send it. The form can be quite the undertaking for some parents as a large 42-page application form. However, they can find guidance attached to the posted form and can also seek support filling out with citizens' advice the Buddy service at St Mary's, and support websites such as Sky Badger. For more information, check out the QR code on screen. Carers allowance is a benefit in the UK for individuals who provide regular and substantial care to someone with a disability or illness. To qualify, you must be aged 16 or over and care for someone at least 35 hours a week. As of 2025, parent carers could get £81.90 a week if they care for their child at least 35 hours and receive certain benefits such as DLA. Please note, parents do not get paid extra if they care for more than one child or person. Additionally, if someone else also cares for the same person as the parent making the claim, only one of the parent carers can claim carer's allowance. This means that the parent who isn't applying for carer's allowance income will not affect the primary carer's claim. They only take into consideration the person applying income. The allowance provides parent carers who cannot work many hours due to their significant caring responsibilities with financial aid. To find out more, scan the QR code on screen. Another form of financial support for children and families is personal budgets. This is an amount of money identified by the local authority or the Integrated Care Board, also known as the ICB, where families may be able to receive money instead of services that would otherwise be provided for them. There are 3 types of personal budgets. Let's have a look at them. Personal budgets for special educational provision are available to children and young people with educational healthcare plans. To find out information or how to claim, please scan the QR code on screen. Personal health budgets enable a child and their family to have greater choices and flexibility over how their child or young person's health outcomes can be met. Children, young people and adults who meet the criteria for NHS Children's Continuing Care, NHS funded short breaks, are Section 117 eligible for or receive continuing healthcare for adults can choose to have their care delivered via a personal health budget. To find out more, please scan the QR code on screen. Personal budgets for social care include direct payments to support a child's social care needs. To find out more around eligibility and how to request direct payments for social care needs, scan the QR code on screen. Lastly, a parent or carer can choose to take a direct payment instead of a short break service through SNPs. A direct payment is a cash payment used to fund a short break service for a child or young person. To find out more about direct payment and additional grants, please pause now and scan the QR code on screen. Parents or carers can also use a direct payment to employ a personal assistant, also known as a PA. A PA is chosen by the family and supports a child or young person to do activities. PAs are not limited to direct payments, they can also be funded by a family privately as well. Scan the QR code on screen to find out more about how families can employ a personal assistant. Please bear in mind that this is financial support available in Sheffield UK as of 2025 and things may have changed over time. Module 3. Family Support Resources. A disability social worker assessment means there are child protection concerns. False. In Sheffield UK, a disability social worker may be required to assess children under 16 with disabilities significantly impacting their family life. This is not always due to a child protection concern, but may be completed as a child in need assessment. The assessment evaluates support needs holistically with input from other professionals. Disability social workers determine necessary support, including funding for services like short breaks and personal budgets, such as a direct payment, which can be used to employ a personal assistant to spend time with the child, providing relief for the family, like previously discussed in the last module. Other teams that can provide family support include the Children with Disabilities team, which is a council-run service to help with social care, supporting 0 to 16-year-olds who have social care support needs due to a disability such as autism or ADHD, where this is the primary need and an assessment is required to consider support provision. To find out more information or refer, please scan the QR code on screen. FIS workers have diverse roles, including supporting with housework, conducting neurodiverse assessments, transporting children to school, providing therapeutic interventions, offering mental health support, and assisting with expediting access to the Reigate service. False. Formerly known as Multi-Agency Support Team or MAST, Family Intervention Service, also known as FIS workers, collaborate with families and schools to eliminate barriers to school access and enhance attendance. They can refer to mental health support services such as Gold Digger, Trust, Door 43, Chili Pep, and COOF. And while FIS can consult with primary mental health workers from CAMS, they do not conduct therapeutic interventions themselves. It's important to note that FIS is not a crisis service. Immediate risk should prompt a call to an emergency service. Additionally, FIS is a council-run early help service providing advice and support for families with a wide range of needs, including improved family relationships, positive parenting strategies, good early years development, getting a good education, improved mental and physical health, improving financial stability, and having a safe and stable home environment. To find out even more about FIS, scan the QR code found on screen. Parents of children with SEND are more likely to experience separation and become isolated due to a lack of family support or experiencing a mental health difficulties such as low mood or depression. True. Parents of children with SEND often face unique challenges that can lead to feelings of separation and isolation. These challenges may stem from a lack of understanding and support from family members, friends, or the broader community. Additionally, the ongoing demands of caring for a child with special needs can take a toll on the parent's mental health, contributing to feelings of low mood or depression. These factors combined can create a sense of isolation, making it difficult for parents to access the support they need and connect with others who understand their experiences. Sheffield Parent Hub and Sheffield Family Hubs both offer support to families to reduce the risk of isolation and increase confidence around supporting their child. As there are many family hubs scattered around different communities in Sheffield that are accessible, welcoming, and warm spaces, who deliver activities for children aged 0 to 5 and offer help, signposting, and support to parent and carers of children aged 0 to 25 with special educational needs and disabilities. Sheffield Parent Hub also delivers a range of seminars, discussion groups, and evidence-based SEND programs. As of 2025, professionals referring outside of FIS would need to complete an early help assessment form to refer parents for support. Make sure to direct or refer parent carers of children with autism and/or ADHD to Parent Hub's SEND Pacific programs. They have a range of options to suit every parent. Some 2025 examples include EPEC being a parent of autism, 10-week program, SEND workshops, and positive parenting for children with additional needs aged 0 to 12. However, a what's on in each family hub varies according to the needs of the local community. To find out more information or what's on currently, check out the QR codes on the screen. Finally, Module 4, Leisure Support. Sheffield Sensory Rooms. Sensory rooms offer therapeutic environments with equipment like coloured lights, lava lamps, and sensory toys, benefiting children with additional needs by providing a calming space and aiding skill development. The QR code provides access to a list of sensory rooms available across Sheffield UK as of 2025. Sheffield Short Breaks. Short breaks, as previously mentioned, are activities that children and young people with disabilities can go to, providing their parents or carers with a short break from their caring duties. This includes day, evening, overnight, and weekend activities. Short breaks benefit both children and young people with autism and ADHD and their parents or carers, as it provides opportunities where children can try out new interests and activities while forming new relationships, also helping parents and carers have a chance to catch up with everyday activities such as sleep, cleaning, or shopping, but more importantly, give them opportunities to relax, do a hobby, and spend quality time with friends and other family members. Please check out the QR code on screen for further details or to check if any of the families you support can apply. The local offer also offers a list of accessible leisure activities for children aged 0 to 12 with autism and/or ADHD, such as autism-friendly Sheffield Libraries activities or events, holiday activities and clubs, support planning a holiday with a child who has additional needs, days out, arts and hobbies, and sport clubs on the Sheffield directory. Scan the QR code on screen to check out this list and also see if anything new has been added. You've almost completed the training. Let's reflect back to the scenario families one last time. Sheffield UK local authority support teams and services that professionals should consider in partnership with Ava's mum include the Sheffield Support Grid, so that her new school can think of new provisions and ways to support Ava, including implementing one of the support plans, such as a one-page profile so that each teacher can understand her needs. Additionally, if Ava doesn't already have an educational healthcare plan, one needs to be put in place. And if she does already have one, a review may be needed for the transition she's going through. Additional support should be provided in this process with the SENSARS team helping communicate with the school and make sure that provisions are put in place. And SENDIAS as well to help mum with more information and advocacy in these decision-making processes. Additional support could be provided during this process by the Educational Psychology Service, the inclusion team and their anxiety and emotionally based school non-attendance information. Other useful information could be how to contact people when she's concerned about her current school placement, accessing SNPs to get back into activities, looking into additional financial aid through disability living allowance, carers allowance, personal budgets, and direct payment possibilities. Additional family support could be in place by the Family Intervention Service and Sheffield Family Hubs and Parenting Hubs. Hopefully Ava and her mum can access things like short breaks and other interesting activities on the things to do list provided on the local offer. There are many different options here, so it's very easy to just pinpoint one for a family, but make sure that Ava's mum is given her choices and autonomy to choose which is best for her and her family. Ava's mum came to you at the beginning of this training seeking support, and she leaves with valuable information and relevant signposting for peer, health, and local authority support. But most importantly, she leaves with a smile on her face because you listened to her and validated her concerns, and worked in partnership with her, helping empower her to take the next best step. Sheffield UK local authority support teams and services that professionals should consider in partnership with Max's mum Rosie include the Sheffield Support Grid to see if there's any additional support listed on there that could be beneficial for Rosie. Support plans should be actively in use as he will already have an educational healthcare plan being in a specialist school. Maybe suggest to Rosie that she needs advocacy in her SEND reviews around her educational healthcare plan to contact SENDIAS for advice and support. Additional support in that area could be provided by the Autism and Communication team, especially as Max is non-verbal. Financial support can be challenging around eligibility for Rosie as she is a student, so take that into consideration when thinking about disability living allowance, carers allowance, personal budgets, and direct payments. If they are available, suggesting short breaks would be beneficial to Rosie so that she can receive some respite. Other options for respite could be her accessing the Children with Disabilities team, Family Intervention Service. However, do this cautiously, as being a care leaver herself, she may have had a previous negative experience or perspective of this service. Also advise her to check out Sheffield Family and Parent Hub sites to see if there's anything she would be willing to access. And also direct her to the things to do list on the local offer, so again she can have autonomy in choosing what she thinks her boys would individually like. Max's mum came to you reluctantly as the only professional she trusted at the beginning of this training, seeking support, and she leaves with non-overwhelming information and carefully considered signposting for peer, health, and local authority support, but most importantly, reassurance in her heart because you actively listened to her and gave her honest answers, worked with her at her pace, and empowered her to take the best next step for her and her children. Sheffield UK local authority support teams and services that professionals should consider in partnership with Betty and Dad include Children with Disabilities team, early years service to help with those early year development stages, Sheffield Support Grid to understand what kind of look or provision is needed in his next school, Support plan should be in place to start looking at an educational healthcare plan if one already isn't there. SENZAs need to be looking into helping with this educational healthcare plan and possibly moving into a specialist school. SENDIAS can then support the parents through these processes by giving them advocacy support and especially providing translations into their African-speaking language so they understand what the process is, additional information around the process of referring into a specialist school, and making sure it's updated from the last time they had this experience with their elder daughter. Also providing them with the QR codes to the pages about choosing Beniam's next school and what their choices are. Additional finance support that we can suggest for Beniam's dad for his family is maybe getting mum carers allowance through DLA. If DLA is not already in place, looking into getting DLA sorted, and also looking at personal budgets, direct payments, and possibilities of maybe employing a personal assistant for the family. Additional support could be the Family Intervention Service and the family hubs and parenting hubs, especially as there are parenting programs in African-speaking languages. Additionally, Beniam and his family should have access to sensory rooms, short breaks, especially for Beniam's parents, so that they can have time as a couple, and options on the things to do list on the local offer. Should be checked out for all siblings in the family. Beniam's dad came to you as the only English-speaking parent at the beginning of this training, seeking support, and he leaves with tailored information and culturally sensitive signposting for peer, health, and local authority support. But most importantly, relief in his mind because you listened and respected him, worked with him to understand his perspective, and empowered him to take the best next step with each member of his family. Congratulations! You've officially completed Sheffield UK Parent Carer Forum's 2025 Professional Autism and ADHD 0 to 12 training. Don't forget to send the 4-word password you've collected along the way to robin.webster@sheffieldparentcarerforum.org.uk to receive your training certificate. Whether you're new to working with autism and ADHD children aged 0 to 12 or wanted to refresh your knowledge, we hope you've learned something new, and most importantly, thank you for spending your valuable time listening to and empowering our parent carer voices. Thank you for watching. This Sheffield UK 2025 training was informed by Sheffield Parent Carer Forum, Sheffield Children's Foundation Trust, and Sheffield City Council. The training itself was produced by Sheffield Parent Carer Forum's Neurodisability Training Programme and funded by NHS Health Education England. Narrated by Robin Webster. Connect, inform, empower.